Welcome back from Frankfurt this time. This is Piana Fehlinger. Thanks for watching the podcast about peace and prosperity. It's now 6 months ago in September when I was here in Frankfurt in front of the Euro sign to call for Euroization of Eastern Europe. Now, half a year later, we had the worst winter in the corona. We have a lot of economic hardship and also a lot of people lost. And we also have now this Russian aggression in Ukraine. We have this vaccination success of Vucic with the Chinese vaccines, and we are in a big crisis. We are again in a big crisis. Last summer, I called for Euroization. Many people didn't take it very serious. But if you don't take it very serious now and don't care for Eastern European financial stability, for the unity signal which the euro means for Ukraine towards Russian aggression, for also the Macedonia, Albania, Bosnia to Euroize very fast now in order to make a difference towards Serbia. I don't know what is wrong with you because what we need actually is more unity in Europe. We have seen it. The vaccination situation was one, the debt mutualization was the second one. We have done a lot of major steps, but the euro is the ultimate tool of European unity, which can deploy it very fast. Membership in a political union is not so easy to achieve for Ukraine given the war and given the occupation of Crimea and Donbass, as we have now discussed in the interviews with Mr. Miklos and with many others. But what can be done fast, and it can be done very fast, within 3 months, is the Euroization of Bosnia, Macedonia. They are already Euro-packed. The Euroization of Croatia, Bulgaria faster, not in 2023 but in 2022, and that is actually quite easy. And then we can also do the Euroization of Albania, of Moldova, of Georgia, and obviously of Ukraine. When you want to be with solidarity, you want to help the Ukrainians fast, what you can do is to offer them the euro. The euro pack can be done, nobody will go to war for the currency arrangement. It's not possible. But when you also do the euro, obviously bigger step for Ukraine, but that's the right step to do. And that makes it very clear to Russia who is in Ukraine and where is the Ukrainian future. And it is also clear that you have a currency border. The ruble on the other side, in Crimea and in occupied Donbass, and in free Ukraine it is the euro. It's so simple and it works. The model is very much the better one, like Montenegro and Kosovo has done it. Obviously Ukraine is bigger, but also Europe is much bigger than in 2002. We are much stronger, much more established currency. So it's absolutely possible to do it. And it's the right thing to do at this moment. It's now April 2021. I'm calling to Euroize all these countries, and that helps them with currency stability. It makes it easier to invest in that countries because of less volatility. It reduces interest rates and inflation. It makes foreign direct investment and also in SME investment, domestic SME investment, much easier. And it makes the big unity step. Because once you have the euro, obviously the road towards the EU is clear. There is no kind of ambiguity and bias and kind of, what will be the future of Ukraine? No, it's the euro. It's then in NATO and in the EU once the conditions are met, which of course is not easy. But I remind everybody the historic precedent is the 48 introduction of the German mark here in Frankfurt, where there is the Central Bank of Germany and the Central Bank of Europe. It was the German mark which was introduced in 48 in the divided Germany. And the same can be done for Ukraine. It's so logical and it's so clear and it's so good. The German mark was pegged to the dollar, obviously back then, until the Nixon shock, and that's the right policy as well now for Ukraine, first to back and then to introduce the euro. And if there is any good answer Europe can do, because ultimately the defense of Ukraine can only be done militarily in case that hopefully never comes by the Americans, because they are the only real fighting power with that kind of mobility and that kind of ability. But we in Europe cannot fight. We have lost that ability, luckily, because we are for peace. Fine or not fine, that's another issue. But what we have is the institution of the euro. We did it for Montenegro when Montenegro was not even a state. It was still part of Serbia. We did it for Kosovo when Kosovo was not even a state. It was far from independence in 2002 when the euro was introduced. We can do it for Moldova, Georgia, and for Ukraine, and for Albania, and for Bosnia, Macedonia. Very easy actually. That's actually no problem in the Balkan. And we can also grant it then to Serbia as a prize for peace, because Serbia and Kosovo must find an agreement for peace, and that can be, what can we give to Serbia? They don't want to go to NATO. That's very sad. I regret that. I call for them to join, but the current leadership, which is probably also for the next years because of their grip on power, their authoritarian step, and also their competence in administration, and they will basically be for a longer term. We have to adopt to that. And what we can do is definitely NATO would be the logical unity of all Balkans in the NATO, so everybody is secure, but they don't want, so what to do? So ultimately we can do the euro, and that will be very difficult to reject for Mr. Vucic. Imagine himself standing in front of the public and TV and saying, yeah, the Europeans offer us the euro, but that's a failed currency, we don't like it, and don't worry, I don't accept it, and that because we have then to recognize Kosovo and make peace, that is for most Serbians who live from remittances, who understand the value of their situation in compared to Montenegro, especially in a context where Montenegro, Kosovo have the euro, Bosnia should have as well, Macedonia as well, Albania as well, Croatia as well, Bulgaria as well, and Romania should also join the eurozone. I have called many times for that. So then Hungary ultimately as well, but Orban is a Russian asset, what to do? So ultimately we were in the situation where then the Serbian middle classes can see that everybody else has the euro, they are the only ones left out, and that's very difficult to explain away even from the best communicator and the most controlled media. They will definitely ask themselves, why does Serbia not accept the euro when the price for peace is offered concretely? And that's the way we have to do it. That's the way for peace in Balkans, and that's the way for peace in Europe. It's the euro. Here it is from Frankfurt. It is very clear, and this is what we have to do, and that's the road to peace, and that's the road for prosperity as well for the countries to catch up faster, as the Slovakian model, please see the interview with Mr. Miklos, has shown. And that will be the way to catch up together with all the other measures I have proposed already, but that's the way we have to do it. And here from Frankfurt again in April 2021, I call for Mrs. Lagarde, please be reasonable, please allow this, don't exclude the Eastern Europeans, and don't just throw a bit of money and a bit of support on them. No, structurally, the unity is most important. We have the tool, that's the euro, we can deploy it fast, and we shall do that. And that's the way for peace and prosperity in Eastern Europe. And maybe there will be additional conflict anyhow. And maybe that's, maybe this crisis is again, as Mr. Busek likes to say, an opportunity. Because Ukraine even moved much closer towards the European Union now in this crisis. Maybe also the Ukrainian politicians start to think about their future more clearly and not about internal divisions and internal getting the spoils, which was since 2019. But maybe the Ukrainians also wake up now and understand that it is really time to make something big. Because these small, little reforms they do, making something digital is nice, and doing some reforms. I made another interview about the Ukrainian situation. That's all good, but it's nothing fundamental. We need to do something fundamentally big. And here the only option for that is the euro introduction in Ukraine. And that is a game changer. That's a big thing, I know. Then everybody in ECB shakes, but it's possible. The overall GDP of Ukraine at 130 billion is not so big that it will make a significant difference for the monetary volume, especially when you see how much we have extended it in the last year anyhow. So let's do that. Let's do the euro for Ukraine and for all the other Balkans countries, and for Georgia as well as part of the negotiations. I called many times for that, and that's the road for peace and prosperity, for unity, for Europe. It's the euro, it's the political project first. Let's do the political project first and the political unification later. Let's do the euro first. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye, Frankfurt, for peace.